A very good morning. We're glad you're still with us here on Morning at NTV. For those that went with us into the break, if you are just joining us, welcome on board. You are watching the premier breakfast show in the land. The hashtag on Twitter is Morning at NTV. We are also streaming live on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Now, we are at the Take Note leg of the program, and we are going to be looking at what's being described by the Bank of Uganda and Honchus at the Ministry of Finance as optimism when it comes to economic outlook. Where you are you a business person? Are you a supplier? Do you provide specific services and products to a particular community or government agency? Are you looking at things in a flowery way? Do you see transactions moving as they ought to? Or you are continuing to grapple with the economic hardships that were the case more than 2 years ago? There's a lot that has, of course, happened, and small and medium enterprises are beginning to see slight but very strategically clear lines of progress when it comes to business. Joining me this morning is the Executive Director of the Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises, Mr. John Walugembe. I got that right, not so?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here.
You're most welcome. Now, I would love, first and foremost, to get your view of the economy right now. I know there's a lot that is going on. Today we just learned that fuel prices could hike as a result of what is going on as far as truckers are concerned. But that is something that is momentary. It could go within a few days or weeks and then we'll return to normal. What is your outlook?
No, the general outlook is that things, at least from the macro level, are starting to get better. We are starting, I think for the first time, we are seeing headline inflation come down.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will go below double digits soon. So that can be attributable to two things. One, some of the external factors. Remember, we mentioned that a lot of this inflation was driven by external factors.
Yeah.
So some of those external factors, like the supply side disruptions that were experienced during COVID-19, are starting to wear off. You're seeing China starting to open up again.
Sure.
You're seeing some stability in the global prices for crude oil. So I think all these things are feeding into a certain level of optimism.
Okay.
On the local level, the central bank was also very strict in making sure that they arrest this inflation by raising the CBR very aggressively. And now we are starting to see that headline inflation starting to come down, which is good. If we continue on this trajectory, then it means that inflation will stabilize at about 6 to 8% by the end of this year, which will be a good thing. Now, from the side of the MSMEs, this is not likely to trickle down immediately. So a lot of SMEs will say now, but for us, we are not feeling that.
That is right. So what is the span of time that it would ideally take for many of the people who are in businesses to begin to feel that there is something, the weight is lighter?
I think it's going to take between 1 to 2 years. So SMEs should really take it easy.
1 to 2 years.
1 to 2 years, I think, by all estimates. So it means you require a certain level of patience. This is a long-term game. COVID-19 very negatively affected the economies of the world, especially ours. So trying to see some positive results will take a bit of time. But what they should be aware of is that, at least from the monetary point of things, the government has been very committed to ensuring that inflation does not spiral. It does not spiral and does not compromise their spending power.
Okay. Yes. So, in other words, for a business person there, especially those that are within your docket and who might be concerned about a lack of profits or sustained profits for some, say, 2 quarters or so, must be able to understand that to simply be able to survive in business is important enough.
Exactly, especially at this time. Because some of the other issues, you're talking about inflation, but there are other issues like low demand. Those are still persistent. People still don't have money, and if they don't have money, there's no way your business can be profitable. So it means some of those issues will still remain for some time. And then you also have government that's looking for money left, right, and center.
Yeah, sure.
They have, URA is extremely aggressive in looking for its money, so that may also affect some businesses, particularly those that are not compliant. So I think, in my opinion, this will take a while, and businesses need to have the patience to wait, but also need to have in place a very robust resilient system that can take them through various shocks, because COVID-19 was one type of shock, but there will be other shocks that will come. So your business should be able to withstand these kinds of shocks.
All right, so when you look at the general direction that the Minister of Finance is taking, it's cautious spending, and this goes down to the fact that they are reducing borrowing significantly, and that means when you reduce borrowing as a government, it means you're going to have to move payments, especially to the private sector, a little bit further. And many times we know that for those that take on contracts with the government, the payment is usually long term. You have to wait. And has that changed the trajectory of businesses for MSMEs, whereby you look at the fact that because you don't have the capacity to handle what line of business is available now, you can quickly transition into another as you wait to make a turn when things get better? Are businesses trying to navigate that, or we see whoever can't navigate step out and wait for things to get better?
So I think the issue, Uganda ought to avoid the situation that Ghana found itself into, some form of debt crisis.
Debt crisis, yeah.
Yeah, we must be very careful as we borrow and from whom we borrow. You know, it's like a normal person. You can choose to go to a bank, you can borrow from your relatives, or you can borrow from a money lender. If you borrow from a money lender, you have to know that the money lender does not have much. Once you have to pay, you have to pay. Whether you put your house as collateral and your children are there, he or she will sell it. On the other hand, if you borrow from relatives, they can understand, they can give you more time. I think government should also be very careful and try to ensure that we borrow from we try to look for concessional loans and bilateral and multilateral kind of lenders. I think that will make it easier. And also reduce domestic borrowing. I think that this budget now, our government is cutting down domestic borrowing significantly. But you see, the budget is just a plan. Sometimes the budget says we're reducing domestic borrowing, but then when it comes to actual implementation,
actually, it's a case of we may do this. If we don't do it, we shall find our way as time goes. Yeah,
so I think for us, we want a certain level of discipline to commit yourselves to what you've said, and also not to keep telling us the same things. Oh, we cut down on workshops. If you say you cut down on workshops and trips last year, now they are cut. If you can't keep cutting the same things, you understand? Like saying, in my home, I'm going to reduce sugar taking. So last year you say I'm reducing sugar. Then even this year I'm reducing sugar. Those are simple things. You want to see fundamental changes in the way expenses are made. Workshops, that's little money.
That's little money.
It's just cosmetic. We don't want trips. And also, if you say you don't want trips, you must also be extremely strategic, because some of these, there are trips that are likely to bring more value to the economy. If you're saying we want to grow exports, if we want to do this, and say there are no trips for civil servants, so how are you going to promote exports if you're not having?
Okay, that is on the government side. How does the private sector tackle aspects of cautious spending? Because to reduce, for example, the amount of money you inject into a business directly affects the workforce in terms of numbers and the quality of work. And very many times MSMEs do employ so many people at the lower level. And how is that factored in, or how are the captains of industry dealing with it?
No, I think businesses need to stay afloat as the priority. All the other things
to get lean is
later.
Yeah, it's understandable to get lean by laying off.
Of course, because the important thing is to keep your business afloat. Workers can always be rehired. You know, so you must look within your business and say, do I need all these people at this time?
That's right.
Can I rely on what I would call part-time workers and so on? So find out structure in your business that will ensure that your business survives. Because if it collapses, then you've completely lost that plot.
That is right.
So make sure your business is first of all, it survives and it's profitable, because that's the whole point of business. If you're in business and you're perpetually making losses, then you may be turning yourself into an NGO or something like that. You must be profitable as a starting point.
Looking at the labor market and how the labor force has been able to adapt to the very hard times, especially in light of what happened during COVID and after COVID. Usually on job losses, when it happens en masse. But to adopt, that takes a little bit longer, especially for those that are looking for jobs. Has the market been attendant to the realities that COVID-19 brought about, especially when it comes to the new hiring dispensation?
And I think employees must appreciate that work as you knew it is changing.
Sure.
So employees are less likely to want to have you there from 8 to 5. They want you to come in, do a specific task, they pay you, and you go away. So it means that you must adapt yourself. If you're looking for this 8 to 5 job, you may look for a very long time. That's the whole structure of work is changing, not just here, but globally. So it means that as a worker, you must also make sure that your skills are up to date. Because people are looking, people are paying for value. You're not going to hide behind trade unions and so on. That era is starting to come to an end. You must demonstrate value before someone pays you. So it means that even for those young people who may not have work, think outside the box. What can I look at it from a service provider? What can I offer to a business for which they can pay? As I look for my dream job, who knows that that can be your entry point? This person may say, well, you're coming in for 3 days a week, but what if you stayed for 5 days a week? So I think that is the kind of thinking that
the context is well understood, but the mindsets that are within the employers and employees themselves sometimes do play against this. For example, the gig economy right now. You know, there are people who have said the banning or continued ban on Facebook is affecting many youth.
I agree.
Their ability to
There's no rationale why Facebook should be banned.
It's affecting their ability to make money.
If you look at, I mean, if you make an objective assessment and you say, well, some people hold very unacceptable political opinions. I mean, everything is abused, even the road. It's like saying, no, because the accidents, now we have closed this road, or we have banned driving cars. Anything that is open to the public will always be abused. So it's up to you to regulate and to make sure that you hold people to account. But you can't say, oh, we have closed Ginger Road because someone was driving past the speed limit. So I don't think that continued closure of Facebook is justifiable from the economic standpoint, and I would urge government really to
okay, that is on the part of the government, and but I wanted to understand the mindset of the employers, especially when it comes to the gig economy, the ability for the young persons to be able to work on the phone and also work from home.
The challenge with young people and the challenge with Ugandans is that we still want an employer who is looking over your shoulder.
We still want to be supervised.
If you are saying we are going to work in the gig economy, it means you must be able to work on your own and deliver. Yes. But if you're saying I'm working part-time and want me to call you all the time, when are you doing this, when are you doing that, when are you doing, then it doesn't make sense at all. So it means our skill set has to change to fit into what we think we should be doing. In a gig economy, it means you're extremely productive. Yes, you're working from home, but you give your hours, 2 or 3 hours of extreme productivity, and you deliver to X. Then you give yourself another 1 hour, you deliver to Y. If you're unable to do that, then you're unable to thrive in that kind of economy. Because this is an economy where you're paid based on deliverable. Yes, not on time, not on qualification, but based on what you deliver. So I think our young people need a certain reorientation. Maybe that's where government can help.
Do employers also need orientation on this part, especially when it comes, because at the end of the day, somebody might say we look at deliverables and not necessarily what you bring on board in terms of qualification.
Yes.
But there are incidents where you won't even make it inside a room if you don't have the qualifications before you can even demonstrate that you can deliver.
Yeah, because qualifications are a signaler. Because if I'm an employer and I want someone to design websites, how do I know that you're good? Yes, you can show me the websites you designed, but how can I confirm that it's you who designed them and not someone else?
By giving them a task to design another website, perhaps.
I don't have time.
You don't have the time.
Yeah, I don't have the time. That's the whole point. So qualifications sometimes act as a signaler. But I think employers, now, if you look at the UK now, a lot of employers do not require university degree to get work. They accept everyone.
That's
for
right.
entry-level jobs, and then people are able to rise based on their competence. Competence. So I think we are likely to see more of that going forward. Because in any case, a lot of Ugandans are educated, but they are not delivering. So employers are saying they need education. Education does not necessarily result into increased productivity. Therefore, I'd rather hire young people, I train them myself, and they do for me what I want.
Okay. Talking of
that's not what the problem is. I think the problem is very theoretical training. You know that the lecturer was trained by someone who referred to a textbook written in the 1960s. His lecturer gave him half of the material because there was a strike. So he transfers half. Then this person to whom he transfers half, transfers a quarter. So you find that there's dilution of content.
A lot of whatever comes up as the final product
and limited linkages
is narrow on research. Yes. Okay, let me go into the opportunities that are currently available, and many SMEs can be able to take on. Kenya is showing us that in the next 3 months or so, the demand for maize is going to be enormous. They are looking out to buy a lot of maize, and Uganda, despite the fact that there have been concerns about aflatoxins and quality, will still remain a major player when it comes to exportation of maize to Kenya. How is this particular agro sector prepared for this?
So I think as Uganda we have a certain level of comparative advantage in the area of agriculture and agro-processing. And I think what we ought to do is to leverage it. Especially in the region, because a number of countries are food insecure. If you look at Kenya, if you look at other countries. But we need to specialize. We can't say we'll do everything well. If you look
this
at
has been
Tanzania,
said time and again.
If you look at Tanzania, they have chosen to be the leading producer of rice. They've surpassed everyone. So they are now dominating the rice market in the region. So yes, we are doing well on milk. We have done well on sugar, but that's production done by large-scale commercial entities and stuff.
It is not a strategic.
How can we try to move more strategically to dominate particular value chains? I think that's the issue. We are seeing a lot of effort to build linkages with other countries, a lot of trade missions.
That's right.
To South Africa, to DRC, to Tanzania, very soon to Algeria. Yes, look for markets, but build supply side capacities. It's like saying, give me a job when you're not qualified. When they ask you for your qualifications, you start telling stories. So I think the same time as we look for markets, we need to ensure that our SMEs and our businesses are actually ready to take advantage of those markets. Okay,
Mr. Walgembe, many thanks for the insights, especially when it comes on how you are looking at the economy from the point of view of medium, small enterprises in the country. We are always emboldened by your perspective. Many thanks. And that will do it for Take Note. I hope you've picked a leaf and shall be able to understand exactly where the money is when it comes to Uganda's economic trajectory. Now, we shall be discussing another money spinner, and that is the arts and music industry. Priscilla Regina Naloga shall be speaking to eminent persons in showbiz. Do stay with us.